So let it be known, if you don't already, Pinays have always been part and parcel, if not imperative and critical to the struggle. Filipinas are no strangers to wielding our own power. Of all the privileges that exist in this world, none of which you may be a benefactor of, there is at least one you bear, and that is the privilege of having been born a Filipina. Your DNA contains building blocks made from the mud of over 500 years of resistance and survival, and when you are ready, sis, we'll be right here, right here, right here, right here.
Yes, 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 yes. Woo! Damn, it's bright. Can we get okay, wonderful. House lights back up, yeah, too. So, welcome to our last panel of the day. And the topic is resilience. And yeah, hell yeah, clap that. I really wanted to start with that clip because, damn, Faith just gets it. She hits it right on the head with that, right? Am I right? I mean, we loved it so much, we put it up on the wall. And you know that this statement means a lot to me because this means so many things. When you're ready, sis, we'll be right here. There's so many things there. Us as businesswomen, we need our time. When we're ready to start our businesses, when we're ready to quit our jobs, when we're ready to take that leap, when you're ready to if you're ready to come to this summit. I know that a lot of people, I heard that feedback that you didn't even want to come today because you weren't sure if you were ready. And even things like sharing our stories, when we're ready to share that with the world. And you know what? The beautiful thing about it is we all have our own time of when we're ready. And what we want to share with everyone today at Entrepinays Summit is when you're ready on your time, we're gonna be here. Regardless of when that is. If that's today, that's tomorrow, that's next year, we will be here for you. So I hope that we take that and we'll hear a lot of that in our panel today. So I'm so excited to have this beautiful panel of women up here to talk about resilience in so many ways, resilience of self, of our communities, of our businesses, of everything that we're building. So we have Pia Barton, founder and CEO of Malaya Botanicals. We have Raquel Redondiaz, who is the director of SOMA Pilipinas Cultural Heritage District. And I'm actually mad at myself for not saying it earlier, but then I was like, oh, it's perfect because you're gonna be here, Raquel. But everyone right now is in SOMA Pilipinas, so welcome to SOMA Pilipinas. This is the Filipino Cultural Heritage District. That means so many things. It means a huge fight, and Raquel will talk about what that means to us in our community. And last but not least, we have Jamie Cardenas, the founder of Magpie Alchemy. And I want to point out, actually, that Jamie was a scholarship receiver from last year's summit, and she's on this freaking stage right now. So that is the power of believing in yourself and when you're ready and taking that chance and where you can get if you just open yourself to this community. So I stole this activity starter from Allison. And I love it, actually. I've done it on another panel already. And I asked everyone to bring an artifact with them. And I asked them to bring an artifact that represents your strength or resilient story. And it could have been whatever they wanted. And so we're going to start with that. We'll start as an opener. And why don't we start with Jamie?
Well, I have a single blue feather here. So part of my story is I also manage chronic illness. It's the reason why I started Magpie Alchemy. Back in 2010, I got a single blue feather tattooed on me. A symptom of my chronic illness is fertility issues. So after trying for a long time, me and my husband got pregnant, and then we lost it about 8 weeks later. To represent strength and to feel as if I didn't want to stay in that place of like drowning in my emotion, I got a single blue feather tattooed on me as a symbol of transcendence. This is the exact feather that I wore in my hair the day I married my husband, my business partner, and who I refer to as my battle buddy. And then what the single blue feather represents now is my daughter, Maggie, who I also lovingly call Magpie, and that's who we named our business after. And now the single blue feather is actually a part of our logo for Magpie Alchemy. So it's a exact visual of my story. So.
Thank you. And then why don't we come over to, I like to go out of order. I'm not about order. We're just gonna go wherever we feel like going in this panel today. So I'd love to go to you, Pia, here.
Sure. So my life has been about resilience. I think I can write a book about resilience.
Do it.
At age 4, I was molested. At age 15, at age 11, we came here from the Philippines and didn't speak a word of English, and moved to San Leandro. At the time, it was predominantly white, and I was pretty much tortured. And by senior year, I was senior class president. So that's, to me, is resilience. I got pregnant at age 20, first time having sex with a condom, and I had to tell my deacon father that I'm pregnant. And I was a junior in college, took 2 months off, and I finished college. And so I was one of those Filipinas where I was forced to get married because I got pregnant. And I did because I felt guilty. And so I married the father of my son, and he ended up beating me to a point where I was hospitalized and did not get the support of my family. And my mother told me to stay married because of my son. I didn't, but that was tough. Raising a child when you're a child, and but we did it. So I started my side hustle then to try to support him. He's now 24, and worked my way up in the corporate ladder in tech, in real estate. And when he went away to college, I decided to focus on myself, and went back to events and marketing, and that's how I got into the cannabis industry. I was hired to do the marketing for different cannabis companies. Did that for 3 years, and sat on the board of director for Small Farmers Association in Mendocino, again, a predominantly white industry, and worked my way up, and now I own Malaya Botanicals, which is a CBD wellness company.
And lastly, too, so we have Raquel here, on behalf of herself, but also representing SOMA Pilipinas and wanting to hear, we're going to be talking a little about the resilience of that community and how we got to where we're at with having a cultural district.
Hi, everyone. Before I share my artifact, I just want to thank Jamie and Pia for sharing their stories. And I know it takes a lot of courage, but also generosity for you to be able to share that with us today. For my artifact, I brought a little pin of Victoria Manalo Draves. Does everyone here know who VMD is? Victoria Manalo Draves? So VMD was a SOMA girl. She grew up right down the street from here. She was born nearly 100 years ago. She was born to immigrant parents, and she was an excellent swimmer and diver, but she grew up at a time when non-whites were not allowed to join swim teams. And she actually went on to win the 2 gold medals in the 1948 Olympics. So she's, for me, like an example of the resilience of our community and of SOMA Pilipinas. And I also want to lift her up because a lot of times, even when we talk about SOMA Pilipinas, we kind of root our history back to the Manongs and to the I-Hotel struggle, which is very important and is still very relevant today. But in all my years working in the South Market, which has been 25 years, it's actually been the women organizers, mothers, nanais, lolas, women business owners like Ate Tess, who's actually been leading, the fight against displacement, against the fight for, to fight for better schools and parks for our communities. VMD is also the name of our, one park in the South Market, Victoria Manalos Draves Park. It's also down the street from here. And so I'll be sharing more about SOMA Pilipinas, but I want to go back to kind of her story as a symbol of resilience for SOMA Pilipinas.
Yes, thank you. And yes, if everyone connects back to Pinay Visionaries, BMD is one of them that is celebrated this month, so yes. Gosh, this concept of resilience, I've been thinking about it so much, and like to me, even personally, this has been like the hardest 3 weeks of, I wouldn't say like my life, but of the past like couple years, like this last 3 weeks leading up to today. And I've been thinking so much about what does it mean to be resilient and what does it mean to be strong? What does that even mean? Because even like, people will come to me and say like, oh, Gina, you're so strong, like I admire you. But then when I was in my weakest in these past 3 weeks and feeling like, actually I wanna quit, like, fuck this, I wanna quit. And then I would think, but I'm so strong, but I feel so weak. Does that mean I'm not strong, or is this what strong feels like? So there's like all these things rushing through your head when you're at your lowest. So I'd love to hear from you guys, what does like being strong mean to you? What does being resilient mean to you, like in your journey or your community's journey? Whoever wants to.
I can just go. So for me, resilience is not just being able to bounce back, but actually come back stronger. And I think that's, in terms of speaking of, the South Market and the Filipino community there, we've actually survived many waves of displacement, from South Park to Yerba Buena to, to today, what we're dealing with today. And so, for me, resilience is being able to, like, even the creation of SOMA Pilipinas itself, actually it happened right after a big loss for our community, which was when the 5M project, which is a new skyscraper that's going to be built down the street from here, right next to Ate Tessa's business, is when we, after a big, huge community battle to stop the 5M, we lost. But instead of like giving up or, like not fighting back, we actually came back with SOMA Pilipinas. And that was when we've been here 100 years, but for the first time in 100 years, the city was forced to recognize the Filipino community as a thriving community here in the city.
So I think obstacles are inevitable. I mean, it's just going to happen. So it's how you overcome them. And so we just have to prepare. I mean, as I said, with my journey, I've had all these obstacles come up. And you just have to kind of figure out, how to get around it and come out stronger. And not let it define you. I've heard some people where, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do that because I was, raped, or I was, I didn't have money, or things like that. And so the more that drives me to be even better and to fight that and not let that define me. So we are going to go through it. It's just how you're going to come on top.
So resiliency means to me, just pure and simple, it's being Pinay. I learned that last year at this summit. It was at the summit that I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I have so many examples in this room that are proof that with grit and the power of our ancestors coming through us, we can achieve anything. And all of you guys are examples of that.
I love that, yeah. What's been an interesting theme that I feel like has come about too is like resilience. When we think about being strong, we often think about it being something that's about self. So when someone says you're strong or you should be strong or you're strong, you'll get through this, it's always about you and like how you're gonna get through it. But what's been so interesting to me in these past 3 weeks is it definitely wasn't me getting myself through it because I was a hot mess, but it was every other person in my community that got us through it. So it was like us banding together and fighting together. So even for like not even just community activism, but for your personal struggles, that was what got me through was every other, thank you to everyone who's been texting me these past few weeks. But that's like what gets us through. Do you feel the same way? Like, what was the community support like when you were going through like your lowest low and having to come out of that?
So probably say my lowest point is when I decided to leave my my ex-husband, and I was 22, just graduated from college, making $12 an hour in a temp agency, and I have a 1-year-old. And so most people would stay in the marriage and not struggle or move back to your parents. So I decided to get however many jobs I needed to get to support him. Still didn't move back at my parents, decided to keep him because I wanted to raise him the way that I wanted to raise him, not with the influence of my parents. And we came on top, but I didn't do it alone. I mean, somebody had to watch him while I was working. And so I have friends and family, definitely. Friends who are, chosen family have been a big part of my life. And so I couldn't have done it alone, and even now, they're still around and they're still my biggest supporter.
Yeah, Jamie, I'd love to just, to you, like, I know talking about everything that we've been through, and talking about our lowest is always the hardest, but maybe you could talk about a time where you did feel like that you were at this like lowest point, and how did you get yourself out of it? Because I feel like that's how we all struggle, is just when I hit that bottom, how the hell do I get out of that hole? And everyone has their ways, but I'd love to hear.
So I think if there's other people that are fellow Spoonies or others that have chronic illness in this room, it is a lot of low lows and high highs. But I want to say it was about a couple years ago. I started Magpie Alchemy about 3 years ago, but I was really sick. I had surgery after surgery. I couldn't get out of bed. Along with chronic illness and chronic pain, there's the like mental issue too. Like you get depressed, you have anxiety, and all those things together, and also working for a corporate environment, those two things don't mix. So on top of all that, I lost my job. They laid me off due to workforce reduction, but I really knew it was because I was sick. How I got out of it. I made sure to document everything, and I took them to court. So I took them to court. I attended the Entrepinays Summit, and it's crazy. I think just like the energy, the frequency of the room. I think it was like 2 weeks after that, I got contacted by one of the original sharks, and I decided, you know what? I don't really want to go with them. I'm going to hire another Pinay. I'm going to go with Upper Cloud. So it's because of Upper Cloud that I now have my own brick and mortar. I'm now doing Magpie Alchemy full time. So that's how I got out of my low.
I love it. She said she got contacted by Shark Tank and was like, no, I'm good. I'm a go Pinay with it. Hells yeah. That's dope. So thinking about, again, we always talk about, strength being singular or self, or, how you can be strong. But a lot of this work that we do, I feel like even in our businesses and building SOMA Pilipinas or building our business communities, is about lifting. We always, hear it's a lot, or maybe we don't hear it enough, actually. Maybe we should hear it more, the idea of lifting as you climb, right? So I'd love to hear from you guys about how you feel like you, through your businesses or through your communities that you're building, how can we build resilience in others, and how can we build resilience as a community?
I think one thing we can do as a community, and we've been doing all day here today, is telling stories. And for me, that's what SOMA Pilipinas is about. It's telling the story of our community. And it's telling our collective stories and our collective struggles, but it's also telling our individual stories. Something that struck me earlier with what Berna said was how, she didn't understand her mom's, attitude towards money, and, she was like really angry about it. But when the mom told her the story, and why, she wanted to have like a big house or a TV in every room, her anger turned into empathy. And I think, given like, as a community, we're always under attack, whether it be as individual business people or as women in the workplace or just, as people, as activists, trying to fight for a better world, we're always under attack. And because of the trauma, it leaves a lot of room for misunderstanding and mistrust sometimes. And so I think even with that, it's important to tell stories, to be able to talk to each other and share kind of our intentions, where we're coming from. And that could, really transform the mistrust or misunderstanding into some, actually unity, or, it's okay to have actually difference of opinions. But, for me, there's this Native American saying that says, if you know someone's story, you cannot help but love them. And I think that's so true for, for our community. There's a lot of people in our community, personalities, we don't understand exactly why they are the way they are, but when we learn their story, then we can exercise more empathy and find places to be able to unite.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for that. That just brings me back to Vicky's first opening, where we literally just stared at each other for a minute and then felt teleconnected immediately. That's the power of seeing each other as humans and seeing each other as people is the first step, right? Jamie, maybe if you could, I know, being in having chronic pain and also meeting people like you and building community and resilience around that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, again, speaking back to last year's summit, how do we continue to build resiliency? By continuing to create spaces like this. I just want to share, at the summit last year, I met another Pinay with chronic illness, and it's so taboo to talk about stuff like that. And then if the illness is like gyne-related, that's even, like, you just don't talk about it. But I met someone, she's here somewhere, there she is, Heather, and I think we've talked every day since the summit. And it's been life-saving, to have one Pinay who understands and really understands my day-to-day. So, I just urge you guys, after you leave the summit, if you have met someone, continue to build with them, because it is truly life-saving.
Here it comes. Yeah, Pia. Thank you, Tissue. Okay, let's hit him up. Let's hit him up. Yes. Alicia, everyone, yes.
For me, I'm building through Malaya. When I got into the industry, I didn't know anything about cannabis. And because I was hired, I had to learn about it. In order for me to market it, I had to learn about the industry. And so when I learned about it, like how, it's been illegal all these years, and then yet our government has had their own farms for years, and I'm thinking this could have saved a lot of lives. It could have made cancer patients and AIDS patients more comfortable. Maybe the opioid epidemic is not so bad. And so I found out about that, and I made it my advocacy to basically destigmatize or normalize cannabis into the general market. And so with Malaya, I made it to where I'm educating everybody who's willing to listen to me. I am now going to the senior centers in SOMA, Pilipinas, and talking about cannabis. I've even lowered my price when I go there, so I know our seniors can afford it. I'm going to the gyms and also trying to talk about cannabis, how we can help with recovering the pain. I'm an injured triathlete, and I was doing Ironman, and then I was bedridden. And I was at Kaiser in the chronic pain management program, and 5 doctors, all they could tell me was take 2,400 milligrams of ibuprofen every day. And that's what I was doing for 2 months before I found out about CBD, and it's changed my life. And so now I made it to, I want to tell everybody about my story, and then maybe you guys can be empowered to take control of your health and wellness.
Yes, yes. That's like, yes, you can clap for that. And there goes everything. Hold on. We good.
For the record, it's what?
Yeah. We need a little drama up on the stage. So one of the things too, I mean, we talk about these feelings or when we're hitting rock bottom or wanting to give up. I'd love to just, if you have a piece of advice to anyone who's in this audience right now and maybe feeling that way, what would you say to them?
As a entrepreneur with a new store, I feel like your emotions can go through 5,000 different emotions in one day. And my advice to you is just be okay with that. Like, that it's normal. I'll be like super excited and happy and like fulfilled, like, oh, this is my purpose. And then I start to get freaked out. Like, oh shit, am I gonna have customers? But all that is okay, Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Why don't we go to Pia? Do you want to answer this one? Yeah.
So I would say align yourself with people who share the same or similar vision and values as you. This is my first year as an entrepreneur, and it's not easy. I mean, and it is very lonely. Majority of my friends work the 9 to 5, even family members. Mom and dad are not entrepreneurs, and so I had to seek mentors and people who are willing to help me and just talk to me, because most of the time I could go 3 days and not talk to anyone and just work in my home office. And so, going to a co-working space, going to meetings, reaching out to other entrepreneurs. So this is kind of where the entrepreneur, will work its magic. And so definitely reach out and keep in touch.
And as like Raquel, I'd love for you to answer, like similarly, like people who are doing work where it feels like you're pushing against forces that are bigger than yourself, and you don't even know how to maybe measure or even approach. I feel like, when I look at the work you're doing with the city government and all of the people you're trying to organize as a district, it's like mind-blowing to me. Like, was there ever a time that you did want to give up, and what would you say to those people who are feeling that they're too small to handle big problems like that? We still got time, it's okay.
I don't know, I'm emotional, but honestly, like the work we do in the community, sometimes like we're held up as like, the cultural district in San Francisco. All the other cultural districts look up to us, and a lot of people look to the Filipino community. But honestly, every day I wonder if everything we're doing is even enough. If like month by month, we're always hearing of another family being pushed out or another program being lost. And so it's, while we do a lot to tell our story, we have so much, activity in the district. Every night of the week, you have something happening at Bayanihan, in Bindlestiff. You have, like, the most incredible original plays. We're just doing so much incredible things. But, I always wonder, like, if it's enough, or if we're just always constantly losing ground. And so, at least what I tell myself is, like, what else are we gonna do? We're not gonna roll over and go away. We're not gonna, we we just have to keep fighting back or die trying. And so for me, that's what I don't know if that answered the question, but whatever it is we're facing, whether it be personal problems, money problems, whatever, it's like when you hit bottom, all you could do is, like, come up from there, and then also hopefully come up stronger.
Yes. I forgot it was another talk. You're just talking about one step, right? All we need is one step. Take that one step, climb a little bit further out, and it's just the constant trying that will keep us going, right? So, and I just want to also just shout you out again, Raquel, because the work that you do in SOMA Pilipinas is hella hard. So, I go to city hall meetings, once in a while, and I'm just like, I'm tired. I don't even want to deal with this. So the fact that that's, the people you have to work with to get this for us is that's beautiful work. We are going to open up for questions. If anyone has any. Anyone out there have a burning?
Check.
Or not even a burning. Actually, okay, yes.
How do we keep the sisterhood going?
Ooh, say that into the mic.
How do we get the sisterhood going? Because it's just energy is just so amazing, and I love it. And another thing from Jamie, last year you found a chronic, another warrior. I'm a heart warrior. So if there's any other heart warriors in this room, feel free to, say hello. And I'm just here like you guys to love and inspire.
Yes.
And like you said, it's a sisterhood. It's not the big things, it's the little things in between that make all the difference and that keep us going. God bless everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. I will take a stab at answering that. How do we keep this going? Well, first of all, I can't quit. We got to keep it going, right? I'm not gonna, don't worry. Also, it's, like you said, it's the little things. Summit is big, but Summit is only once a year, right? But those little interactions in between is what builds us and brings us together. That's what knits all of the big pieces together. And it's little things what I've been noticing when I go to events and I see some of our beautiful food team today, actually, who all came together because of last year's summit. And I see them on Facebook kicking it, or they just go to PCH to have drinks. Shout out, Joe's always organizing people to go have cocktails at PCH and support Pinoy heritage. And then I see other people posting Pinay collaborations in the Entrepinays community on Facebook. I see people shouting out saying, I've got an event this weekend, I need hands, who's down? And people stepping up to that. I see G doing amazing collabs. So it's all these little things. Tracy Cruz had a freaking concert at Yoshi's, all right? I see Tracy, she performed at Yoshi's. That's a big deal. And I saw hella Pinays come out to support that, and you killed it. And so it's those little things, that's how we keep going, and maybe even once a week doing something proactive. This week, a few Pinays just texted me how are you doing? And it's not even oh, your husband or your partner or my cousin who I'm always texting with, somebody who's in your circle but maybe not an every day. How do we do an easy interaction every day with somebody? Because that shit matters. That's what builds us. Yeah. Thank you for that. Anyone else? How about? I want to ask this too. If you have a burning question or even a half thought, even if it's not fully thought out, it's a half thought, you're thinking about it, I'd love to challenge you to ask it. Oh, right here in the front. Mike.
My question, I remember how, like you said, you didn't take the Shark Tank money and you got funding from a Pinay. How did you go about doing that? And what, was it scary to say no? And then how did you how did you connect with them, I guess is what I'm asking.
It wasn't scary, just because after researching what that original shark was about, he also owns the Made for TV brand, and it was a week after I launched CBD in my company. So what it entailed, it was like a nationwide commercial, and they would basically own that part of that product. And I was still high off of Entrepinays last year, so I was like, I'm not going with him. It just made so much sense to do it local and with someone I know who is aligned with my beliefs. I've seen G work through the community. I've actually known G for a very long time. And I was like, we gotta keep it in the family. So it was very clear. In terms of funding, I took the corporation that shall not be named, their blood money, and I used it to fund my business.
In the back, I see one over there. Oh, and somebody supporting her to get her chosen for a question. That's Pinayism.
All right, this is more comment and maybe a question comes out of it. I've known Gina since freshman year of college. She's been an inspiration. And a comment for everyone here, I had the opportunity to meet with Madam Secretary Madeleine Albright this week. She had a great quote for me. There's a special place in hell for women who put down other women. And this is not the place. We do not do that here. We lift each other up and we inspire each other. So for that, thank you everyone here. I love the energy. And if anyone else wants to comment on that, please do.
Damn, words of wisdom right there. Them's fighting words. Yeah. Thank you, Tessa. Actually, we became friends because she was the only Pinay in my dorm at Berkeley. And then literally when we had the dorm meeting, I just was like, Filipino, you're my friend. And then we became friends. Yeah, I was like, you don't have a choice. We're going to be friends. Other questions or half thoughts, half ideas? Yes, over here. I love it. Energy.
I'm going to piggyback all of that. Thank you for bringing that topic up. Because it's...
Go, Felicia Wilder. We got a mic. Go work it, Felicia.
So since this is a resiliency panel, something I noticed with our Philam community, by the way, I'm a new immigrant. I grew up half my life in the Philippines and I came here as an adult. So I wanted to see where I could fit in, you know what I mean? And my experience has been, there are the down Pinays, they get it, and then there's this other cohort also that is crabs in a bucket, crab mentalities, treat or see you as a competition. And then there's also this middle ground where it's just I want to have a conversation with you. I'm not trying to dump on your hustle. I ain't trying to mess with your energy. I have some suggestions, or I have a perspective I want to bring forth to the table, bring our discussion a little further. And then some folks feel defensive because, understandably so, that's your work, right? And then somebody's seemingly questioning it. And so it's I want to understand, how do you guys, or do you have, again, this is a half thought. What are your thoughts on that? Where are we in this spectrum? How do we build that resiliency, lifting each other up, but also taking that criticism, okay, I could do better. Thank you for pointing that out. I am accountable for my actions. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I love that too, because actually it's interesting because we have two panelists who are in CBD. Like you're both in the same industry, but here you are on the same stage.
I think I can answer it. So I actually met Pia last year at the Holiday Undiscovered. She actually introduced herself by saying, "Oh, I love CBD too. I'm actually going to start my own company." But I never thought like, "Oh, that's competition." If anything, I'm like, I want to see her win. Like earlier, it's like it is really building sisterhood. So if we keep that in mind, even the criticisms, like something I learned from G, like the people in your life that are openly sharing with you ways to better yourself, that's not a criticism. They want to see you win. So I think opening your heart to that changes the dialogue.
Yeah, you want to go?
Well, I just wanted to say that, and I'm like just trying to think back, and in all my experience, I've never ever felt or experienced like another Pinay trying to compete or bring me down. I'm like, okay, wait, no, I just remembered one. Actually, never mind. Oh man, I forgot about that. Some people here remember that. Okay, but but for the most part, maybe more, the last 20 years, it's really been like when I've been down, it's always been like sisters, Pinay sisters, not just close friends, but even like people I hardly knew who like will reach out and, and say that, I support you or, so I don't know, that's my experience. I grew up like 1.5, so I feel like, feel really lucky because I feel like I'm able to like understand, I immigrated here when I was 9 years old, so I could relate to like the immigrant experience, but also like I've been here most of my life, how many, 30 plus years. And so, I feel very lucky to just be able to be sisters with a whole spectrum of folks. And and thankfully I would say that, that like, what I find, at least particularly in SOMA, the Filipino community, is that everyone like is looking out for each other and has each other's back. And if people raise criticisms or concerns, it's out of love, for each other, and not because we just want to tear each other down.
I will answer that too, because I feel like in my circle of also other entrepreneurs, like this is a topic, this is a theme. It's happening a lot. And it's good that we're talking about it because we need to address. And one of the things that we've been talking about in seeing this theme happening in our community is like, first of all, we need to get out of the personal mentality of anytime we get criticized, automatically labeling people haters. We need to stop that shit.
That's right.
Because first of all, if somebody has the courage to say something to you, that means that they care. Because if they didn't care, they would just be like, oh, F you, I'm done. Or just walk away and then talk shit behind your back.
That's right.
So there's no haters. Like, just forget that. Because when you label them the hater, you're the one who's pushing them away, and you're the one creating the wall, not them. So it's funny. It's like that finger pointing. What do they say? You point one finger and there's four back at you. It's like that. Damn, what was the other thing I was going to say? It was good. It was good. I don't know. Well, damn, I really want to remember it, though. Because I was going to close with this. What were you going to say?
Oh, one more question.
One more question. Okay, maybe I'll remember. We're going to do one more question. Maybe I'll remember it, and then we're going to close. Over there. Red jacket. Red jacket.
You were my partner. Yeah, that's the last person.
Okay, hard question. I'm 1.5 Gen, like Ate Raquel. Been approached by a lot of Pinays who grew up here, so Filipino Americans, who, proudly have the Philippine flag tattooed on them, and, I'm proud to be Pinay. But the first conversation I have with, like, anti-oppression, anti-colonialism. It's like, what? What is that? So how do you approach those situations where you want to celebrate the idea of being a Filipina or Pinay, right? Without reeling them into this like cult, quote unquote, that they can think like that it's this cliquey thing. I went to high school in Benicia, East Bay, North Bay, right? Where there was that Asian clique. But I was never in that Asian clique because I was too Filipina. You know? I had the Fob-ish accent, and I watched the teleseries and all that stuff, okay? I didn't wear the Manny Pacquiao t-shirt because I didn't have to. I don't want it. I don't care. But like, I knew what it was like to be Pinay. Deep in my roots, deep in my heart, bone, soul, everything. But I didn't want to like scream it in their faces where they think like, holy crap, it's too much, it's too much, it's too much. So, went to USC, same thing. USC Troy, a lot of AP or Asian American organizations tried to have these conversations with them. Shut down immediately. I'm like, what am I gonna do? And then I found like Paloma and like pretty much everybody here post-graduation. I was like, holy crap, these are my people. So how do I move forward from this summit with all of this energy in this room and just spread it like fucking wildfire? Because that's what I want to do.
Girl, just do you. Like, honestly, you're already coming with this energy right now. And, you know, we say, like, part of the reason, I don't know, haven't even talked about Undiscovered, but I also produce another event called Undiscovered SF, which is a Filipino night market. And part of our, like, motto and theme of that is that everyone is Filipino enough. There's nothing tied to that. If you're Filipino, if you feel Filipino, you're Filipino enough. You don't have to speak Tagalog. You don't have to eat dinuguan. Like, it's like, be Filipino however you want. And I think just when you stop asking how you gotta be for them and just be for you, then you're just gonna go. And I already wanna follow you, so let's go. Like, just take that energy with you. I saw you actually this morning during the Vicky exercise with Felicia. You guys were running around, like, finding a buddy, and I was like, y'all, they're gonna be best friends already. That's besties right there. And you were matching this morning or something? I don't know. Yeah, there you go. So just do you. And then, okay, so to close, because I remembered. It worked. So to close, before we go to our closing circle, this idea of competition. There's another person who's doing your business and she's also Filipino. Oh shit, she's in competition. Instead of asking ourselves, how can I eliminate the competition that's similar to me, we need to ask ourselves as a community, how do we expand our market? Okay? We're Filipinos, yes, but just because we're Filipino doesn't mean we're only applicable to Filipinos. Our businesses, our products, our services are applicable to everybody. And the moment that we accept that for ourselves, that we can be accepted by mainstream, then we are going to thrive, because then it's not a competition anymore. We're not just fighting for all the Filipino eyeballs. Let's get all the eyeballs on our shit, because it's dope. So, and with that, I just want to say huge, immense thank yous to all of you on this panel. I just want to, I don't know if you guys know, but many of these women have never shared this story ever before. And they came up here and gave you your full hearts. So let's give them a round of applause.